I've woken out of cryo sleep, as you can see, to give you another video. And here we have Apes Victorious. Rules for science fantasy adventures on a planet ruled by apes. This is the hardback version, and this is the softback version. Okay? This is written by Dan Proctor of Goblinoid Games. And Tim Snyder did some work on it as well, an adventure in the back. And I worked on it as well. So this is going to be a little bit of a promotional, kind of self-promoting video, I guess. Just wanted to let you know a little bit about the game and a little bit of the part that I played in bringing it to life. So I've been a big-time Planet of the Apes fan for a while, pretty much since I saw the first movie when I was a kid. And throughout the years, I was able to watch the original, 70s Planet of the Apes, the 5 movies, and I really enjoy all of them. For me, really, the first 2 are really what are the best of those 5. And then I like the 4th, Conquest, the 3rd, Escape, and the last one, Battle, kind of brings up the end. So, been a big fan. I did a podcast for a while called Go Ape Podcast, talking about Planet of the Apes with a buddy of mine, and then we moved on to some other stuff, some other movies, making fun of a bunch of other movies. But I've always loved, of course, role-playing. I've always loved Planet of the Apes. And so this has been a great melding of the two with Apes Victorious. So whenever Dan announced that he was going to make Apes Victorious, I was lucky enough to get up with Dan and work on editing it, doing the playtest of it, as well as proofreading it. So I worked on those aspects of the book, and it's just been a huge honor to work not only for Dan Proctor, Goblinoid Games, Labyrinth Lore, Mutant Future, Starships and Spacemen, but just to have, kind of my say a little bit here and there, or my interpretation of what, a role-playing game on a Planet of Apes would be like. Obviously, with the knowledge that I have of Planet of the Apes, and what I wanted to try to bring to the system. So let's go over it real quick here. Just to get it out of the way, there's a history about the world pretty much being destroyed, an ice age, and now it's starting to melt, and apes have taken over. They've become intelligent, and humans have reverted to a primitive state, much like you would see in Planet of the Apes and beneath Planet of the Apes. So that's all kind of all well and good, and it has kind of its own name for places and its own kind of history, but it's obviously a mirrored version of Planet of the Apes. So what you have with it is you're going to have the ability to play pretty much anything you want from those movies. You're going to have a good bit of character class choices. It is going to be a take on kind of Labyrinth Lore and BX, D&D. It uses Starship and Spacemen rules. So, and I'll discuss that a little bit later when I get into the combat section. It's a little bit different. But it's about 118 pages, give or take. Black and white, of course. It's got some great art in it. There has been some criticism that it doesn't have enough art, which I understand that criticism. I always want more art as well, but I think what it has in there is very serviceable. There's the ship crashing to the water, and there's some other really great, obviously memorable scenes there from Planet of the Apes. But very easy to read, one column format there, and you're going to be able to have a choice of several character classes. The first one's going to be the astronaut. I had a little bit of doing with the astronaut, and the playtest was very, very helpful in really shaping and changing a lot of these character classes. So they're going to be, obviously intelligent. They're going to have to survive on planets. They're going to have, survivability skills. They know about aeronautics and general science. And I wanted them, and it was one of my suggestions, to give them the ability to have certain area knowledges where each astronaut might be a little bit better at some aspect of science, nature, history, maybe art, or farming, make those characters more unique. And that comes from the TV show. I'm a big fan of the Planet of the Apes TV show, and Alan Burden and Peter Burt, the main 2 astronaut characters from that TV show, were very unique in kind of their back history and Alan was very much a farming man and a really hands-on type guy, and Peter was more of kind of a roguish type guy. So I wanted to kind of make sure that was in the book too, that you could have some characters, some astronauts that were a little bit different in their fields of study. So that's the astronaut. You've got the bonobo agent. That's a little bit different. That is an offshoot of a chimpanzee. They look very similar. And this character class is going to be a diplomat, a stealthy type character, more of like a spy, very much your kind of a face type character possibly. They're very kind of outgoing type of apes, getting information, and that kind of fills that kind of thief area. So the next one, which came up big in the playtest, was the chimpanzee scholar. Um, the scholar has kind of three branches. They could all work in each one of their branches to create maybe new tools or experiments, and they're going to be more of your kind of think tank type character. So there's three branches. One is the archaeology chimpanzee scholar, and that chimpanzee needed the ability to find old excavation sites, ruins from ancient Earth or ancient history, I guess I should say, in case your Apes Victorious isn't on Earth, which it may not be. Be able to search those things out and get better at doing that. Maybe finding ancient, like I said, ancient dig sites or caves. Maybe knowing what some artifacts were. And that could be a very valuable member of the team. Secondly is the medical chimp. And the medical chimp, obviously, is going to be your big medic and healer of the party. Can do, can diagnose diseases, do all sorts of stuff medically, and going to be a valuable member of the team. And with that really comes into play a lot, obviously, with people getting hurt in an adventure. And then the third one is the behavioral scientist, the studies ones. And the thing about that one is, in the TV show, there are several behavioral scientists. Where Cornelius from the TV show would very much be more of the archaeologist, Dr. Zira is going to be your behavioral scientist. What's going on with humans, finding out maybe through their behavior, if they're lying, if someone's is telling you something that's not true. And so that's definitely going to be one for trying to understanding the humans, the primitive humans that are that are in the book, that are a choice for a character class, which will be coming up shortly. I'll tell you about. So that's pretty much the chimpanzees. The gorillas are pretty much going to be your warrior class, your brutes. Fairly easy to understand. They've got a kind of a tough mind to get into, but they're very easily frightened by things that might scare them. But they're very easy to perceive through like illusions. And then the next is going to be the humanoid. The humanoid is a class where they don't have too many levels. They are pretty much primitive. They can't really speak. They're kind of docile, but they can be aggressive if they need to be. And during playtesting with that one, it came up that the humanoid needed to have something that, even though they're very good at scavenging and looking for food, I really enjoy. And again, one of my main things is the TV show. I'm a big fan of the TV show, and Dan took a lot of inspiration from the cartoon that came out called Return of the Planet of the Apes. And so while a lot of his focus was on the cartoon, which I also enjoy, a lot of my focus was on the TV show. So it was kind of a melding of the two, and I think you'll see that through Apes Victorious. So the humanoids, in the TV show, the humanoids and people are always finding caves. The whole world's like all of a sudden turned into Swiss cheese, and anytime that Alan and Peter and Galen, who was the chimp that was with them, needed to find shelter, so there was always some sort of cave or something, and it kind of became a running joke with me, and so I wanted to make sure that was kind of in the book where, well, these humanoids that live very primitively, they can't speak. If they're probably afraid of of maybe guerrilla squads and stuff like that. We call them guerrilla goon squads. Maybe they not only can they find food, but maybe they should probably find some place in case it's raining or something for them to shelter in. So they got that ability as well. So that character class got kind of some hang-ups to it, but I think you can find some players that really enjoy playing that character, and you can also tweak around with their ability not to that they can't speak. You could always let them learn one new word per level. A lot of different options, house rules you could do with the humanoid, but the book does state that it's a difficult class to play, and compared to the other ones. The next one is the orangutan politician. Now this one I really enjoyed what I was able to add to this one. The orangutan politician can heal a little bit. He knows a little bit about science, he or she. Very much ingrained in the politics and the Church of Satan, which is kind of the ape society their religion that they kind of focus on. But I wanted them to show that the kind of power that the orangutan politicians have. If an orangutan politician was able to walk up to some gorillas or even some chimpanzees or um, any of the other apes, they have a caste kind of class system, so they would be able to be like, hey, you two, you're coming with me. I need you, like 2 gorilla guards. You're coming with me. Or if they were out to maybe a gorilla, maybe like a chimpanzee farmer or something, they could be like, all right, I need to stay in your house. Me and my, these gorilla soldiers need to stay in your house. So as they get up in level, they're able to get better and better at persuading and pretty much ordering around other types of chimps, NPCs. So it could be very valuable, especially if you want to do a ruse on some other chimps, or get yourself into one of the towns or cities, and really throw kind of that politician weight around of the orangutan. The last class is going to be the Underdweller. Now, the Underdweller name comes straight from Return of the Planet of the Apes cartoon. It is a mutant and is obviously showcased as well in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the movie. But they're heavily in the cartoon, and that's another one of my favorite things about the cartoon was the Underdwellers. And so they're going to be powerful psionics. They're not used to the sunlight. It hurts their eyes, and they're going to be psionic rules that are taken pretty much straight out of Starships and Spacemen. So very easy to use. And what's going to happen is everything's got a psi ability. It's pretty much a psi ability score, and even creatures and stuff might have psi points, but they're either going to be active or inactive, meaning they either use psionics either passively or actively. And so if you need to like kind of crush the mind of something that's kind of dumb and doesn't have any psi points, or doesn't have any strong psi defenses, you could do that. So everything's got that psi potential, I guess you should say that's what it's called, psi potential, and it's either inactive or active. So obviously the Underdweller is going to be very active with it, and you're going to be able to choose and get a couple of psionic powers with that. So the book continues on into your normal combat equipment sections, and in the combat I just want to focus on this. In the playtesting, we tried out the way that in Apes Victorious you roll low. So you're going to roll high for saving throws, which is standard kind of across the board for OSR, D&D type games. You always roll high for saving throws. But in everything else you do, from ability checks to combat, you're going to roll low. Okay, so I've heard some people's issues with why that is, but I'll let you know right now. It was very, very good and easy to use. So what you have is you might have a character that say they've got a to-hit number of 12. And so what they need to do is they need to roll on a d20, they need to roll 12 or less. Very easy to do. And if there's any armor or defense or some sort of dexterity bonus that the creature that they're trying to hit has, it takes away from that to hit number. So if they've got armor or something, you've got to roll a 12 or less. Now you've got to roll a 10 or less to hit it. It's exactly the same. It just kind of, once you have everything that's pretty much hitting on armor class, which is in essence 9, it's kind of pointless almost to do a big table and stuff, because you're going to pretty much be dealing with an armor class of 9 unless someone has a dexterity. So I find it very easy. The playtest was very easy. The second you roll your die as a player, you instantly see that you missed, unless there's an armor bonus, which I'll tell you if there is. So if you rolled close to what your score is, more likely you hit. So it's very easy to use. So that's pretty much and that's used in Starship and Spaceman too. And these games do kind of correlate with each other. I'll be discussing that when I get to the section in the back that has the rules for conversion between Labyrinth Lord, Mutant Future, and Starship and Spaceman. So then you're going to have a pretty meaty section about the monsters. There's some new kind of freaks that have been created here in the post-apocalyptic world that is Apes Victorious. There's ones that are kind of normal that that have kind of changed maybe slightly, and then there's true kind of horrors that have been created in this new future. And one of them is kind of like a big flying snake, and that again is a shout out to Return of the Planet of the Apes cartoon. So it's very cool to see that in there. And it doesn't need, I don't think, a whole bunch more than that. They have a race of insectoids, which I think you could have a lot of fun with them as being another kind of fourth group out there in the wastelands, in the Forbidden Zone, kind of mucking it up a little bit. So it's a good section, and I think you can have a lot of fun with a lot of those critters out there. And then you're going to go into the Ape Society as well as their technology. Great sections on both of those, and this is going to be from the 1970s standpoint of astronauts as well for their technology the technology level. And then you're going to have the underdwellers, their society as well as their technology, and you'll see that some of their futuristic technology could possibly take them to other planets, land them on maybe the moon or Mars. So again, great hooks for maybe for new and crazy gonzo adventures with the underdwellers. The next section is great. I really wanted, when I was looking at it, I really wanted there to be a lot of options for the themes because you can have a lot to do with Apes Victorious. I think if somebody looked at this and thought, it's just, I'm going to play astronauts. Well, not really. For starters, there's an optional rule that I specifically wanted in there in which the humanoids speak English. You could allow them to speak English and to have a little bit of intelligence. Where they're farmers, they have families, but they're still subservient to the apes. And that's straight out of the TV show. So right there with that little optionals block, you can do anything from the original Planet of the Apes. You can do astronauts, you can do the apes, underdwellers, humanoids, and humanoids that are slightly intelligent. So with that, what that allows is for the astronauts to, much like Alan and Peter did in the TV show, integrate themselves into the human civilizations that are there, and the towns and the farming and stuff, and kind of weasel their way in to try to maybe defeat the apes, or start a rebellion, or just use the people to escape the apes, get away from them, just the same way that they did in the TV show. So just having that there gives a lot of opportunity and options. This section here is all about how to come up with themes. So if you think about the astronauts, there's many things that the astronauts could have. They could be helping you can have games and sessions and campaigns where they're helping the apes, maybe rise up against the orangutans and the gorillas. Maybe the chimpanzees are kind of your goal. Try to get them on your side. Maybe you could be working with the humanoids, very much the way they did in the Return of the Planet of the Apes cartoon, where they were trying to help the humanoids, and that's the word that comes straight out of the cartoon as well. But helping them escape, maybe find a peaceful area for them not to be hunted down by the apes. Be trying to find a way back home. Be trying to find a way to in contact to the underdwellers. Maybe the underdwellers have some technology that might be able to take them back home. Maybe the underdwellers are brutally attacking the apes and humanoids. There's so many possibilities right there, and that's just really on the astronaut side, facing these different opponents and different forces. On the ape side, you could play nothing but apes, and they're weeding out humanoids. Maybe astronauts come to the planet very often, and they're starting to set up bases, and trying to, put a stop to the apes' doings. And now your apes trying to stop the astronauts. Apes trying to get rid of the underdwellers, very much like the way it was in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Kind of a clash of xenophobic civilizations there. Maybe exploring the Forbidden Zone. Maybe the Forbidden Zone animals, creatures, mutants, and stuff have started to come over into the apes' territory, and they're trying to hide a lot of that. So maybe you play like an execution squad that go out and hunt down these freaks in the Forbidden Zone, so that the populace of apes don't get to know about them. And that right there, that's it. Or maybe they're just trying to help the apes. Maybe they don't like the way that the apes system is. And much like the way the movie and the TV show and everything kind of Planet of the Apes is kind of flipping that on its head and letting the apes join in with these other humans to help. And then the underdwellers, kind of the exact same thing, but completely different. Maybe they need technology from the astronauts. Maybe they want to wipe out the apes. Maybe they are using strange creatures to try to attack these two forces. Maybe the underdwellers are trying to get off their planet to other planets to take them over. Maybe they're trying to help the astronauts. More than likely, they might try to help the apes, but probably not. They're very xenophobic, both of them. But really, the options are really there. There's tons of options for it. And then there's a complete venture in there by Tim Snyder, which is great. I think it's a great starting point for Planet of the Apes role-playing, which is obviously what this is in Apes Victorious. And you got a great character sheet in the back. It's got a kind of cool little thing. So that's Apes Victorious. Again, a very small book, completely contained. It does sync up with Starships and Spacemen, and I think my rationale behind that is Mutant Future, obviously Goblinoid game. It's already post-apocalyptic. It's already got kind of mutant animals. Yeah, there's conversions in the back on how to do that for Labyrinth Lord and Mutant Future and stuff, and it's very simple to do. Armor class is easily seen. the way that an AC-9 turns into, armor class pretty much, the difference in the armor class with the to-hit numbers. And so that is easy to figure out if you need to switch over any monsters or do any type of conversion. But I think that if you think about astronauts and space travel, you think about Escape from the Planet of the Apes, right there, the apes left the planet. There's a lot of space travel back and forth, and you can have a lot of different alien races trying to maybe approach the Planet of the Apes, and that happened a lot in the comic books, where they had some alien invaders as well. And the comic books completely gone so nuts, and there's some that are really crazy, but awesome as well, and great inspiration for Apes Victorious. So, yeah, it kind of links up with Starships and Spacemen. The conversion's there for Mutant Future, but in my opinion, Mutant Future's already kind of is halfway Apes. Mutant animals, has some mutant animals in a post-apocalyptic world, so it's already half there. So that's kind of in my view of how Starships and Spacemen, and of course it's obviously going to link up to the comic book that came out, Primate Directive, in which the original Star Trek ship goes to the Planet of the Apes, which is a great comic book, by the way. I highly recommend anybody that likes those two, Star Trek and Planet of the Apes, which of course I do. So it's awesome. So if you need some inspiration for Planet of the Apes, I'm going to show you a couple things here. I've already done some videos before on the community for Apes Victorious, but start yourself out right off the bat with this book right here. I've talked about it all the time. Can't say enough more about this book. Lexicon of the Planet of the Apes, right there, from Aldo to Zero. All right, it's comprehensive, unauthorized encyclopedia by Rich Hanley, who's just a beast at knowing everything Planet of the Apes. This is an absolutely beautiful book with tons of art, as you can see right there. There's the beneath the Planet of the Apes, mutants. It's got art everywhere, and this is stuff from everything Planet of the Apes from the old days. It's got the TV show, the cartoon, comic books, the movies, tons of pictures. Even has some of the old Mego toys it incorporates into there. Very easy to see, and you can get tons and tons of not only pictures of maybe who they were, of who the people were. You can get inspiration from some of the backstory, the comic book, the TV show. Here's Otto Hasline right there, and you can just get tons of adventure hooks and paths to take with Apes Victorious. So that more than anything else. I understand there's some criticism that Apes Victorious doesn't have enough art. There's plenty of art in here, and you can use it to enhance your game as well. The second book by Rich Hanley is called Timeline of the Planet of the Apes, and what this does is this takes chronologically every single thing that happened day by date, and you can say, well, what happened on this date? And it's going to go through everything, all those different entertainment medias, and sit there and say, oh, on this day, Jacob ordered the construction of an ape history museum. All right, big deal. But you may be able to play that and use that into your game. So right there, fantastic. The next one is, of course, one I've shown before, is Conspiracy of the Planet of the Apes. An awesome, awesome novel that's illustrated as well. And what this is the telling of Landon's story on the original Planet of the Apes movie. So it's got art, some places, once I flip to it, yeah. It's got some great art that's in it. And it tells his backstory whenever he was separated from Taylor. See, there they are being captured. So this fills in tons of and answers tons of questions that you might have had about Planet of the Apes. And this, even though it's a book and a novel that came out later, a lot of this is now considered pretty definitive about what happened to them. Why did their ship crash on the Planet of the Apes? And then if you want from some more inspiration again, the TV show, highly recommended. Only one season, but very, very good. A lot of great episodes in this. And then there's the cartoon, Return of the Planet of the Apes. A lot of these you can find on Amazon. And then for music, you've got your soundtrack to the Planet of the Apes. And I highly recommend this one, the TV show. It's a lot more tracks, and a lot of them are more environmental type sounds, slow moments, and atmospheric. And you'll be able to use a lot of this if you'd like to add music to your role-playing experience. So there it is. That's Apes Victorious. An absolute pleasure to work on. This is not really a review. I'm just, letting you know about this great game that's out there. Of course, I had some little bit of work that I had that I did with it. An absolute honor to have to do anything with both anything Planet of the Apes and of course something with Dan and Goblin Way Games. So there it is. Hope that's been educational for you, kind of my mindset, and I really wanted to focus on the fact that I wanted each player, if they love Planet of the Apes, they know the type of classes they say, yes, I see where that's in the Planet of the Apes, or I see that where that came from, or I understand why they have that ability. That was my main goal. So if anybody likes the classes and feels that they are a good representation of the way that Planet of the Apes apes are, I'd love to hear that. That's exactly what my goal was to say, look, I wanted to make sure there was nets and whips, because there's tons of nets and whips in those movies, and they're always hitting humans right in the neck. That must be what they teach them early on in life, how to how to whip a human in the neck. I wanted to make sure that kind of stuff was in there. The talking humans, the different character classes, and the playtest was very, very valuable. And proofreading, man, I tell you, hats off to those that do proofreading, because I looked over it over and over. I'm not professional by any way whatsoever, but I give it my best shot. And hope you like Apes Victorious. If you're out there, if you're a Planet of the Apes fan, if you know somebody's a Planet of the Apes fan and they like role-playing games, this is really all you need, especially if you like old school role-playing. So there it is. I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you later.